Hello, Fuse Nation. My name is Alex, Hughes, the host of Feuzion News. I am joined right now by JJ from Barstool. We'll be breaking down the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, Monday Night Raw, and SmackDown Live that happened last night. We'll also be talking to Super Bowl and Yankees baseball. So, JJ, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem anytime. And, of course, the Royal Rumble pay-per-view was on Sunday night on the WWE Network. And, of course, I enjoyed that whole pay-per-view. Besides the Royal Rumble match, I felt like that match really casted a shadow on the whole pay-per-view when Roman Reigns came out at number 30. And, of course, when Randy Orton won that match. So I have to ask you, what was your take on this whole Royal Rumble pay-per-view? Did you enjoy it or no?
Yeah, no, I think it was a great pay-per-view. I think we got to see more out of John Cena. Thing for a while was that he couldn't wrestle. He only had 5 moves, the 5 moves of death. And then, but he showed more versatility. He showed he can do a bit more, physically. He still looks big, but he came back, really athletic after being gone for a little bit, doing, some TV. And I think when you think of the Universal Championship match, seeing Kevin Owens go through the tower of chairs it felt very I know you weren't really old enough for it, but it felt very Attitude Era.
Yeah.
And so it was a real throwback to that. And then the Royal Rumble match itself, it was a good match. I'm a big fan of them using like 3 of the spots to bring back some old guy, and not an old guy like Brock Lesnar or Goldberg, who are supposed to be actually competing, but give me a whoever, someone from the 90s, give me badass Billy Gunn or yeah, I mean Kurt Angle would have been amazing, but I think they're going to wait till after the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and when I was watching that Rumble match and that 30 spot was not The Undertaker, I'm like, they're in Shawn Michaels' hometown. Is there a chance that number 30 could possibly be Mr. WrestleMania himself, Shawn Michaels? And I was like holding out this hope that Shawn Michaels is going to return. Of course, he said that he has no issue returns with the WWE, and of course, unfortunately, he did not return in that Rumble match. And of course, it was Roman Reigns, which he was not supposed to be in that Rumble match. So of course, WWE thought it would be a surprise. But they also set up this feud between possibly Roman Reigns and The Undertaker for WrestleMania season. So, if in fact Roman Reigns takes on The Undertaker at WrestleMania and Roman Reigns defeats The Undertaker at WrestleMania, what would be going through your mind? Would you be more of a Roman Reigns fan? I don't know if you are or not. But would you be more of a Roman Reigns fan if in fact he does defeat The Undertaker at WrestleMania, or would you hate him even more?
For me, I watch it, I kind of separate the characters. It's overall sad to see The Undertaker get old. I grew up on The Undertaker. He debuted when I was like 7 years old. So I've watched his whole career, and just to see him lose, he can't really move. So it's obvious that Roman Reigns has to win. They don't jam Roman Reigns down our throats the way they have for the past 3 years and then say he's going to lose to The Undertaker, who can't walk. And I think, though, if that's the direction they go and it's a clean finish, that's probably got to be the end for The Undertaker. You don't want to see him come back and just lose all these matches because it's not believable that he could win.
Yeah, definitely. And, seeing him in that Rumble match, he looked like he was struggling a little bit. I read somewhere that he wasn't feeling himself that day, that he was in pain. But, it's great to see The Undertaker back. But like you said, if he's not going to be back 100% or even, 75% able to compete and really put on a great match, there really is no point to bring The Undertaker out when you have so many younger guys that you could use that extra time to develop, like a Sami Zayn or like a Kevin Owens or, like Ty Dillinger that he debuted in the Royal Rumble. We didn't see him this past week. I'm sure we'll be seeing him more in the future, hopefully, on the WWE main roster. But, maybe use that time to use for the part-timers like a Goldberg, like a Lesnar, like a Undertaker, to use that time to really develop these younger stars that the WWE lacked in the past few years.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just seeing that he just can't do it anymore. There were times when he would still only wrestle 1 match a year, but he could really ramp it up for that one. And I think he came back too early from whatever hip surgery he just had. you know, it's close to the end. And as someone who watched them their whole career, it's like it's depressing.
Definitely. Well, you know whose career came to an end last year for the Yankees was Alex Rodriguez. And of course, I am a Yankees fan. For those of you that weren't aware, I'm a big Yankees fan, and I actually like Alex Rodriguez. Now I have to ask you, he's going to be in this new role this year for the Yankees. Now, can you tell us a little about, do you know exactly what A-Rod is going to be doing for the Yankees this year?
Yep. So under his Yankees contract, he has, I don't know if I don't know the finer details of it, like if it's a certain amount of days or just whenever they need him. Basically, they can say, you know, Alex, we need you to come to Tampa. We need you to go to wherever we need you to go with and work with some of these younger players. A lot of it's going to be in Tampa, especially around spring training or guys, you know, rehabbing. I think it's going to be a good role for him because you heard a lot as he got older in his career, especially after the suspension, how for every rookie that gets called up, he takes them out to go and buy them a suit, or maybe it's like 3 suits actually, because you need them in the major leagues. And so he says, you know, everyone should, you know, have someone who helps them start like that. I've made all this money, so why wouldn't I do that? He didn't put it out there. You know, it was other teammates talking about it. So aside from the steroids and you know, just being awkward, he was a very socially awkward guy. He was a good mentor at the end of his career. So, you know, hopefully he can teach the game a little bit to some of these guys, you know, these prospects going through the system.
Yeah, and I heard that a lot of people were saying that before he ended his contract with the Yankees last year in July, that he really wanted Starlin Castro to be that next guy to really step up on this Yankees roster. And you saw in the final months of the Yankee season last year, he did exactly that. Do you think we will see that same Starlin Castro in the 2017 Yankee season like we did in the months of August and September of last season?
I hope he just stays within his swing. For a guy like him to hit 21 home runs, you look at Brett Gardner a few years ago, hit more home runs than he ever had before. He was hitting, you know, 4 in a 3-game series at one point, and then he started trying to hit home runs, and he got away from the things that made him great, from getting on base, stealing bases, finding a way to score. And so you do worry that Starlin might do something like that. He does have great power to the gaps, so as long as he keeps that and then takes advantage of the short porch, then I'm totally fine with it. And I think he still will. I think he'll still have more power. I look forward to seeing him in his second full year as a Yankee. Unless you're a big free agent signing, there's kind of like a 1-year grace period when you get traded to start, you know, hey, you got to figure it out. Didi Gregorius started his career as a Yankee terribly, and he's very close to being an all-star now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, you know, one guy, like you said, stealing bases was something that the Yankees have been lacking the past few years. Now, Brett Gardner used to be stealing bases like crazy, and also Jacoby Ellsbury back in his younger days. Do you think Ellsbury is the guy that really doesn't like to steal bases as much because he had so many leg problems and knee problems over the past few seasons as he's getting older? Or do you think it's more of a Yankee coaching style that they really try to stay away from stealing bases these days?
I think the injuries have just gotten to Ellsbury, and he doesn't have that same burst. I think the coaching staff recognizes that as well. And when they think of it from a production standpoint, when he is healthy and he can produce, he's had some great parts of seasons for us, but then there's normally an injury that, you know, derails it. And so if he could just stay healthy, I think they feel like they'll see more out of the bat. So they're not using him to run as much to try to keep his bat in the lineup, but that bat hasn't been what they hoped it would be by not stealing.
Now, of course, this Yankee offseason wasn't that exciting, but they made a surprising move that they made was trading away Brian McCann to the Astros. Now, Brian McCann, you know, he's really been the Yankees catcher for the past few years, starting catcher. And then, of course, Gary Sanchez made his debut last fall and really, you know, kicked him out basically in that starting position. Now, I thought maybe the Yankees would keep him around until his contract was up as that designated hitter. But of course, they traded him away to the Astros. Were you surprised when you heard the news that the Yankees traded away Brian McCann to the Astros? Or do you think it was a good idea to really develop Gary Sanchez as their starter catcher and then Austin Romine as their backup?
No, I think it was a smart move. I think if you look at the Yankees roster as a whole, they've been trying to get younger for a few years now. And with A-Rod being off the team, CC is his contract's gonna expire this year. Teixeira's gone. We're seeing not only money, but we're seeing years come off the roster. And this year's team could be good, could be a wild card team. No one's going to pick them to win the East. A lot of people aren't going to pick them to win the World Series. Now, this young team could shock the world. They made a run at the end of last year. But this year is really about seeing what do we have, who's going to be a part of this next dynasty that we're trying to build and trying to be competitive for 5 to 10 years. Who's going to step up and show that they belong here to do that? And then who's not going to, and what are the holes that we have to fill through free agency or packaging up some of the prospects we have to make trades as we get into 2018, 2019.
So you're saying you don't really think this Yankee team is more of a wild card team and they really don't have a shot to go deep into the playoffs and possibly win the World Series? Are you saying that?
I think that they have the chance to do it. It's just not a big chance. You're not going to see a lot of people picking them to do it. But with the talent that we have, in order to do it, much like any team that wins the World Series, a lot of things have to come together just due to the age and the years of major league experience. They're going to need a few more things to come together than a more veteran team. But when there's payroll open from these contracts expiring, and who can play at a major league level, who's going to be an all-star, who's not going to pan out, you can fill those holes through free agency with Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, Clayton Kershaw. But you want to build another core four out of some of these young guys.
Yeah, definitely. We'll switch gears now and talk the final subject before we talk Barstool Sports. And the Super Bowl is, of course, this Sunday night. The Patriots are taking on the Falcons. I have, my take on the Patriots. I have to ask you, do you think New England potentially could win another Super Bowl, or do you think this is Matt Ryan and the Falcons' year to win?
I think the Patriots are going to win. I would love to see. As a Giant fan, I'm kind of comfortable with it because the Giants would have been the only team that could stop this Patriots run. But at the same time, I think there's so much to be said for the experience of being in a lot of Super Bowls, knowing how you're going to prepare every day. A lot of guys on the Patriots have that experience. For the guys who don't, there's enough guys on the coaching staff and on the roster who've gone through it and can lead by example. As soon as these teams make the Super Bowl, they're getting phone calls from everyone they've ever met about how can I get tickets, can I come, what parties are going on. There's a lot of distractions, and every player who's played in the Super Bowl has said that. The Patriots know how to handle it, so it's a lot easier for them to adapt a game plan. The Falcons could go out and shock us, but as long as it's a close game, I'll be happy. But I do worry that the Patriots could end it early. The Patriots can put their boot on your neck and end things.
So if you were to pick a score, what would it be? Do you think it's going to be a high-scoring game or a low-scoring game? Or do you think it's going to be a blowout like we saw a few years ago? And, I want this game to be exciting, but, you really don't know when you have two of these, very different and similar teams as well. So do you think this is going to be a high-scoring or low-scoring game? And what's your final prediction?
I think it's going to be high-scoring. But my fear and what my gut says is that it's going to be like the Seahawks and Broncos. If the Patriots defense can step up early and get a turnover and really get in Matt Ryan's head, I think that could be really big. And I think Tom Brady's going to continue to have a lot of time in the pocket and pick apart defenses.
Yeah, definitely. And JJ, before we wrap up this Feuzion News interview, I want to ask you, what is it like working at Barstool Sports, and what's it like working with the guys there, and really talking about, like you do, talking about Yankee sports, and I want you to talk a little bit about exactly what you do for Barstool.
Yep. So for Barstool, I cover the Yankees. For anyone not familiar with Barstool Sports, we're a sports, comedy, lifestyle blog, and the order of those things changes at times. We have a TV show this week on Comedy Central, midnights. It's our daily rundown show. Is live from Houston. We have a bunch of guys out there, so tune in. But so I cover the Yankees, and I try to do it from more of a fan perspective. There's a lot of great journalists out there who are and analysts who are breaking down a guy's WAR and how many pitches is he seeing. I get to write from more of a fan perspective, from a passion. I get to be a homer. I don't have to, pretend I'm in the middle. The way Barstool is structured, it lets us have some good debates with each other, the writers, with the fans, with the stoolies, as we call them. And so it's a fun role. It's a fun thing to do. But working with the guys that we have at Barstool, everyone's super talented. It's one of those things where I've been there for a while, so it wasn't as big as it is now. But a lot of guys who get hired now say, I was a fan for so long, and now I'm part of it. I still view it as that. Like, I'm a fan of the guys that are doing stuff on Barstool. Big Cat, KFC, Dave, those guys doing TV right now is amazing. But there's so many guys when you're even just around the office and you're talking to are so funny all the time, and not in doing a bit, just like genuinely funny to be around.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems like, that, excitement and energy that you guys put into your work definitely, shows up when, I read your tweets and I read your articles that you do. So it's really fun for me to really, read your guys' articles, which is why a lot of people do, including me. So, it's always great reading a new Barstool, article online. So, I do appreciate your guys' work, and I do appreciate you taking the time to come on my show. And before we end this interview, I want you to promote your Twitter. And if we're going back to the wrestling terms, put over your site and articles and your Twitter page.
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter at BarstoolJJ. On Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, all those things. And yeah, if you've never read Barstool Sports, look it up. It is, again, it's humor and sports and pop culture. It's a weird mix. But the reason we're called Barstool Sports is we like the idea to be that you can read our site and then go and sit on and it feels like you are sitting on a bar stool with your friends having a conversation. And we also give you whatever the key news things are that are fun conversation and jokes. Take our jokes, go use them with your friends who don't read Barstool as you're sitting on a bar stool, after work. Well, not you. You shouldn't be drinking.
Yeah, I should not be drinking.
The suit makes you look older.
Thank you. And JJ, before we wrap up the interview, I got a big show next week. I don't know if you saw this or not, but a former WWE superstar now, they were formerly known as Divas, but she was the manager. Miss Vicky Guerrero will be joining me on Feuzion News next Wednesday night, so be sure, Feuzion, to join me for that big show. She'll be making an announcement, so you got to be sure to watch. Will you be watching, JJ? I know you'll be watching, right?
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's exciting news.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm excited. Thank you, Feuzion, for watching the show. Be sure to follow JJ on Twitter as well and read all the Barstool Sports articles. Thanks again for JJ for coming on my show. Be a subscriber to Feuzion News. Like the video, comment below what you thought about the show. Thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Be kind to one another.